So today we're just doing essentially another day in the life. I'm here in Dubai with my CMO who's recording, so we'll just sit down, we'll take you through the stuff that we do throughout the day. We have a multitude of tasks that we need to crack through. You'll be able to see some of the client calls that I have. You'll be able to see some of the sales calls that I have as well. You'll be able to see some of the work and interactions that we have with people within our team and some of the things that we are working on. So come along and see how a seven-figure entrepreneur runs his day in his life here in Dubai. I think the good thing about living in Dubai is that you start your work about 3 to 4 hours later than all of Europe does, which allows you to have that sort of time and space to think about planning your day, organizing and prioritizing yourself, and I think is great when you live a life like ours of extreme busyness and hustle. The call we just had now is a really interesting one, and that just shows the beauty of being able to work in this space, which is you get presented with different opportunities in different industries and in different verticals that could really stem and that could really go over any different area of business that you could potentially think of. So what we were presented with now is with a company, which I can't mention the name, that is looking to raise $40 million to build essentially a platform for private aviation. So they're leveraging these small planes that you've probably heard about, which are called the Vision planes. I think they fit maximum 4 to 6 people. They're looking to raise $40 million in a mixture of equity and debt. This was a client that was introduced to a referral and through a connection of ours. And so what the next steps look like is obviously, as you understand, and given the model that we run, being incentivized highly on commissions, we need to understand that each client that we work with is of high quality and that we effectively can fulfill. We won't take clients for the upfront fees. We don't get motivated by it, and it's not how we want to drive this business forward.
So because you don't have time to cook, nor do I have the time to eat out every day.
Nor do you know how to cook.
We have evidence that says otherwise. We just order meal preps.
Okay.
And the food is a solid 5 out of 10, but it saves me like an hour and a half to 2 hours per day, so it's worth it.
And look at the protein, 62 grams of protein, 45 grams of carbs.
And now explain to the people the bet we have going on, me and you.
Yeah, so me and Verona have a bet where both of us have to go to the gym one Saturday, and if we miss a day, the person who misses needs to get the other person's dinner. So
And how many days have we missed so far in 2 weeks?
0.
Yes, sir. Thank you first of all for sending the deck. Much appreciated. I did have a chance to go through all of it. I guess easiest way to kind of approach this conversation today would just be to open the floor for questions. So any questions that you would have on the materials that were shared, any questions about the process. I want to take the next 30 minutes that we have on the call just to be able to explain any queries that you may have. So as part of the call that I just had now, I was supporting some of our clients on the agency side that are setting up, or have in this case set up, an organization that will aims to facilitate fundraising in the public space. So that could be through the acquisition of grants, public grants, European funding, so on and so forth. So now that we're having a call with a referral that I brought in, because as you understand, we get presented with a lot of deal flow that may not be a fit for us, but could be a fit for our partners as well. And so what we did is we just had the call together to understand if this client is potentially a fit for the people that we're working with, what that partnership would look like, to get to understand a bit more about the prospect itself and to be able to vet them before making a decision. That point that you just made, which is mostly around agencies and the way that they conduct their sales process, which is obviously just kind of brute forcing it, having as many calls as possible and trying to just scramble to get to a close. It doesn't happen in this space. And the reason it doesn't happen in this space is because if you look at it very plainly, what you'll understand is that everyone is looking for funding, right? That being private, that being public funding, that being fundraising, that being loans, whatever form of capital injection, most businesses would be looking or would be open to the opportunity of taking in capital, which means that client acquisition is not necessarily an issue. And I think I've said this in other calls, in other videos. We've taken, or last year I took alone 826 calls, out of which maybe we closed 15 to 16 clients. So as you can see, there's so much of a vetting process that you need to go through. Because think about it, if you're raising, let's say, 40 million for a client and your fee on the capital raise is 5%, that would mean that you would generate 800,000 if you raise for that client and if you raise that amount. Whereas if you charge up front, let's say 10 or 20,000, it means that you would need to close 40 clients to get to that same position. And obviously account for the operational bottlenecks, the hiring, the kind of infrastructure that you need to have for 40 clients. and the fact that you still need to go out there and fulfill. So the focus here is not on how can I maximize the number of upfront fees that I take, and that is in this space as it is with any other space in which you have revenue share agreements, is how can I maximize the chances of raising capital or getting them to their desired outcome in the shortest time possible. So let's say instead of doing 50,000 up front, we can do a certain amount up front, and then we can do the commission plus that difference. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say we agree on doing 50,000, we do 25 up front, and then when the capital is raised and when the first investment comes in, we get our commission as obvious, and then we get the 25 that would have been for the upfront. I just finished up a second call that I had now with a client, so as part of the sales process, and as I explained before, what we did in this situation is we had that initial call, we then requested access to the pitch decks and the data rooms. I then browsed through this just to understand a bit more about the level of work that needs to be done and the level of detail that our team will need to allocate and the resources that will come with it as well. We made the offer today. Obviously, in between calls, what we did is we sent a scope of work. So typically, the prospect has time to go through all of those. And this call, and as you'll see if you get access to the recording, is mostly based around handling objections. So the objections will come from two different directions. The first of which on the process. So understanding a bit more, how do we connect with investors? What level of support do we give them? A lot of questions arise on timelines as well, because anyone that's raising capital and typically comes to us, they're in a constrained timeline. So meaning that they want to raise ideally ASAP. They've been in the market for a couple of months and been unsuccessful. So now they want to figure out how can we get to market, partner up with someone that has done this multiple times before and get there quickly. So that's exactly what we do here. Just give them some more expectations on how long it takes us to prepare all of the materials, how long it takes them to see the first interest, how long it takes those people to then commit capital, understand a bit more about the networks, the people that we have within our circles that we can present them to, which I was more than happy to shine some light on. And then now what we did is, and then the second part of that would obviously be handling objections in any pricing direction or understanding if there's any concerns about the fees that we charge, the commission, how that is typically paid out, which in this case there was some sort of pushback. So we were just negotiating there on what the fee would look like, different ways of kind of skinning the cat and providing some flexibility as well. I probably think it will close in this situation, but until it's closed, it doesn't count. So let's see what happens.
Initially, we ran Avalanche Consulting, a marketing agency that was capped at around 70K per month. We served B2B and B2C companies and assisted them with email marketing. Then we used the broker-dealer model to transition into what we do now. So we leveraged the same service, which was email marketing, in an up-market environment. So effectively the same service, the same way of delivering results to our clients in a market that was ready to pay us 10, 15x more than our regular agency clients.
That makes sense. So good. Alessandro, I've asked for access to the API. As soon as that's done, just drop us a note letting us know it's all good to go, and then we can go from there.
On that up the jet, goddamn. I don't get no rest, goddamn.
Lower down because a lot of our work is operationally complex, because as you can understand, we have to go through investor information, do due diligence reports, do outreach. There's a lot of different steps that partake in being able to build a successful campaign and being able to execute on your fulfillment, which is something that you should never jeopardize. So what we decided to do a couple of weeks back, by the time you see this, will have been a couple of months back, we brought in a chief operating officer. So this is someone that had experience working in the financial space and had experience running operational procedures for some of the companies that are akin to the companies that we work with. And so what we're focusing on is just refining all of those operational processes that we had internally and automating and delegating them so that it gives me my time back, which is the most valuable thing at this point in time. I just had this last call now at 8 p.m. here in Dubai with Bruno that went really, really well with a client. I won't get into the details of it, but it was a previous agency owner as well that showcased interest into getting in the M&A space for growth businesses or businesses looking to kind of get into the next stage of growth. It seems like the call went really well. We've just now sent over the service agreement. I'll come back to you once and if that has been progressed. But I would just want to say once again, really interesting to see how many people want to get into the space. It motivates us to keep producing this content and putting kind of value out into the world. And yeah, super excited for what's to come.
I want my respect, goddamn. I've been running up a check, yeah. When we forget, ease my stress, goddamn. When she get that neck, trim.
Just to give you some context, we're just now wrapping up the day. It's half midnight. Then we woke up quite early today, around 9 a.m. But just like yesterday was a very long day at work. We're here in Dubai, and although this is a place that can provide you with a lot of space and activities for you to take your head off things and enjoy your time, this is also a place that allows us to be together and to put in work that otherwise we wouldn't be able to. We work remotely, so having the opportunity to be in the same place for a month and just to really grind it out gives us potentially a head start and gives us the opportunity to do things that we wouldn't be able to do in 6 months working apart. So just to wrap up the day, and Bruno was now just recording a loom to send over to the clients. We were finishing up some of the presentations that we typically send in between calls. We were finishing even some of the calls that we had to take now. I think one of the downsides of being in Dubai is that you have to work at these later hours, because obviously if you want to catch US clients, the time zone and the time difference is quite large. So we were just cracking through that, and once again, it was a good day, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next one.